Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton.
Hello, hi, and welcome to the September 16th, 2020 edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with me, Shelley Overton, and I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida. I want to welcome you here to Orlando, and let's get started. We've got a lot to talk about, and as usual, my computer is a little bit messy, so we'll maybe erase that. Edit out. Anyway, so lots to talk about. We've got this week in astrology, and guess what? Tomorrow is the new moon, and it's in my sign of Virgo, so I can tell you a lot about that. Anyway, we're going to have a new moon tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern, and that means 4 a.m. Pacific. And I think it's only 4 hours difference to GMT, so I think it's 11 a.m. England time, if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, it's noon. So I guess if you're GMT in England or anywhere in that time zone, you would know better. But yeah, we've got new moon in Virgo. So the new moon in Virgo means that we are going to have a grand trine. That's this, grand trine. The sky will be divided into thirds, and the planets that are in the earth signs will all be in aspect to each other, creating, I had coffee, and of course coffee has gluten, so now I'm a little congested from the gluten in the coffee. I apologize. And it also means that I'm very chatty, which is really good for the podcast, because then you get a lot of information. You probably have to slow it down a little bit too to get it all. Anyway, so the moon in Virgo, today the moon's at 12 degrees Virgo. I'm looking over my computer because there's another computer behind it that has the chart on it. That's why if I look off, it's because I'm looking at the other chart. And so the moon's at 12 Virgo, aligning to the sun by tomorrow. When the moon, I'm going to do it, let's see, it's going this way. I'm trying to translate what I see on the chart over there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Moon, sun, joining up. And so they're going to be together tomorrow. And that means they are cazimi. Cazimi is an energy of the sun energized and radiating out, also joined with another planet or body in the heavens. In the moon is that body. So when they're cazimi, it means they act as one and with more power, because now the ego and the emotions are joined up. And Virgo ego is kind of an unusual character, because Virgo really is the sign of the hermit. It's also a very humble sign. It tends to be the sign of the teacher, people who are of service to humanity. So they are not generally ruled by an extrovert ego. They are much more to themselves. They can feel awkward around crowds. And generally, a Virgo energy wants to get the lay of the land first. They can be personable. They can be chatty, as you know with me, but they have to have a boundary. They have to have that earth energy groundedness before they give themselves over to someone. So what happens with that Virgo energy is it can make them feel standoffish or at sometimes snooty. They're not snooty. They're probably the opposite of snooty in their true Virgo form, because Virgo is usually self-effacing and highly critical. It can be critical of everyone else because it's critical, or we are, because I'm a Virgo, we are critical of ourselves more so than others. And when we hold ourselves to that high standard, we look at others as capable of doing something to that high level of standard. And so that's what we see when we meet other Virgos. For many years as a Virgo, I was not happy to be a Virgo. I didn't like the energy of Virgo because I thought it was hypercritical and not very pleasant and embracing, personable. But truly, Virgos have very big hearts. They are truly of service to everyone and will put themselves last in most cases. It takes a lot, probably some Aries energy or Gemini energy in the chart of a Virgo to really counterbalance the Virgo self-effacing qualities. So with Moon and Sun in Virgo tomorrow on Thursday, so that would be the 17th. And I apologize if there's noise in the background. My mom's in the kitchen doing some cleaning and probably making lunch because it's almost noon. Anyway, we've got this energy coming together of the emotions, the house, the family, really in Virgo is wanting to keep things neat and clean and understanding what's going on, analytical around family members, and joining with the ego, the sun. So it is a great energy of getting attention as a Virgo. Virgos don't tend to like a lot of attention. Leo does. I have Venus in Leo, so that kind of balances out that need for solitude, which I also very much have. And so when we have the moon join the sun, we've got an extra helping of sincerity, of helpfulness, of concern for what's going on with other people. We are in the teacher time of the year, of course. Virgo rules teachers. And so we're feeling that the teachers are really going to the mat for the kids right now. Virgo is a great sign for teachers at this time because the Virgo energy is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury rules electronics. And so, of course, a lot of students are being taught through the computer, which means Virgos, not all, not all, but many, because Mercury rules the electronic side of things, are very capable of teaching through the computer and really having a great lesson and lesson plans for the kids right now. I think that tomorrow or Thursday the 17th will be an amazing time for recognition of what teachers and nurses and people of service and help in this country can really, in any country really, can really do for the people. You know, the Virgo energy wants to be a service. And for other signs, for like, I will just say it, for fire signs are really great that they take care of themselves first, and they're able to really put themselves out there in ways Virgo can't. So they're, like I said, a great counterbalance to the energy of Virgo, where it's like, oh, you know, the librarian or the teacher, just very demure, very prim into themselves. Fire signs make us more outgoing and can really, at times, the Virgo energy can be frustrated or at odds with fire energy. But fire energy really brings Virgo energy out of themselves. And so currently we have Mars at 27 degrees, and that will be a difficult aspect to Virgo, is already for the sun. The sun is within 3 degrees of an inconjunct, and the moon will be joining that energy. So that means the moon and the sun will be at odds with action, with male energy. So the sun, the sense of self, the sense of calmness, the sense of helpingness in our psyches, how we express ourselves as people, how we express our emotions and our need for security, will be at odds with the male energy and Aries energy that's expressing other things. So as an example, the fires are very much Mars in Aries right now. And of course, Venus is in Leo. So Mars and Venus are both in the fire energy. And so we're feeling at odds with that. Like I know personally, it's really difficult. And this is something that a lot of people don't realize about Virgos. They are highly sensitive. They are the opposite sign to Pisces, but there is a synergy between opposites in the zodiac. And so they can be really sensitive to other people and have boundary issues. And so as we're engaging in the news stories about all the violence going on or fires, we can feel really uncomfortable with that energy. It's not a normal place for the Virgo influence or even earth signs necessarily. Of course, earth and fire, you know, we can really turn over a new leaf or change a lot through, if you think of earth and fire as volcanoes, new earth is formed. Things are changed and moved to the next level. But as a general rule, Aries is very brash and potentially raw and unseasoned, where Virgo is more refined and likes a little persnickety, a little detail-oriented and refined. And Aries is typical masculine energy, classic, archetypical, how about that? Archetypical masculine energy that is just brash and raw and go, where Virgo thinks about things in the minute form. They are good detail people. Aries are good muscle people. They're good at taking action and getting it done. You know, they build things. So currently with this energy, yeah, it's kind of at odds energy currently. And then we have all the Capricorn, which I know I talk a lot about this, but I have to tell you, the Capricorn energy is probably going to be a hot topic through the end of the year until Jupiter and Saturn move into Aquarius, in which case Aquarius is going to be the hot topic. So hang on one second. I'm going to mute myself for a second. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, and the new moon means we are initiating a new energy, and it's a late degree. So I find this really an interesting juxtaposition, because that's where the new moons have been the last couple times, is you have the moon go to the end degrees and then it's new. And then immediately after shifts to a new sign, which is what happened last month. So the new energy is saying, okay, we're initiating in a latter degree. So it's wrapping up, but it's also new. How does that work? So it's kind of a dichotomy. When we get to the end degrees, we have more concentrated energy. So this new moon is really taking advantage of a seasoned, well thought out placement. And because it's new, it's saying, okay, hey, everybody, we have this maturity to contribute, and we have starting energy around this mature way of viewing things. So it's as if, and I've got lots of chills when I'm telling you this, so I know I'm right on with this interpretation, is that we've got the structure and the physicality and the mentality all coming together to create something really wonderful and to educate. I personally have, I've mentioned this many times, I have Mercury in Virgo at 4 degrees. I have Uranus at 10 degrees Virgo, Pluto at 14 degrees Virgo, and Sun at 17 degrees Virgo in the Aquarius house. So I have this cluster or stellium of Virgo planets when I was born. And so my life and my path from that energy is really around the collective. Aquarian energy of the 11th house, Uranus, the ruling planet of Aquarius, is about how we all integrate together. And Aquarius can be a bit detached. When we have this, this cluster, or even a touching as the moon and sun are in an end degree, it's a culmination of that energy. So anyone, especially those born in the 60s, have that Uranus-Pluto conjunction in their charts in Virgo, you're going to really strongly feel this new moon. So the children of the 60s. Immediately after, when the moon goes into Libra, those are the children of the 70s, the late 60s, early 70s. So they're going to feel more aware of the need to shift around, around relationships, or to have an independent mind, or to connect to a partner, because the moon is that home life, that security. They're going to want that partner, and it will trigger the Pluto in the people who were born in the late 60s, early 70s. So we're going to have like this refreshing air feeling. And I want to say it's going to bring more a breath of fresh air. The air signs, while air increases fire, it will also bring fresh air. And so having the moon go into Libra may be this breath of fresh air that we are feeling like we have to tend to the details with the new moon. And it will be a great time to initiate projects, especially a half hour either side of that moon. So early in the morning tomorrow, make some determinations, especially in business. The Virgo energy rules the 6th house of work and service and health. So anything you want to really initiate in any of those areas would be great tomorrow. And specifically within half an hour, either side is supercharged. But throughout the day, you can definitely gain some energy around the work environment, around education, children, animals, pets. Yeah, anything that would be Virgo related, you know, phones, the materiality of the phone is Virgo, where the technology of the phone is Gemini, which both are ruled by Mercury. One is air, Gemini, and the other is earth. So the physical, tangible part of the phone, Virgo. And, you know, I always caution you, because Mercury is always a part of Virgo and always a part of Gemini. When you have planets go through Virgo or Gemini, you're going to have a connectedness to phone technology one way or the other. So either it's going to be, wow, this is really good for me right now, things are working on my phone, or through, you know, communications, or they're really not, one or the other. And tomorrow could be a really good time. It might even actually be a really good time to get a new phone, because it is an initiating energy in an earth sign, which gives it longevity. Okay. Moon in Libra joining up with Mercury this week. Let's see, later in the week. And so it'll be Friday. We're going to have an awareness again of this connectedness to partners. And I've got some information written down in here that I wanted to share. For the new moon day, again, for you who are new, I write in my book all the writing that I have week to week. All of this was written at the beginning of the year for the most part. I may add to it throughout the year as we get closer to the date. But the information I put is really going over the coming forecast for the year at the beginning of the year. And what I wrote for the 17th for Thursday is foreign news and issues and military. And the reason I wrote military, because there's a Sun-Saturn trine, and there is also a moon in Virgo trine to Saturn. And then Mercury squares Jupiter also. So Virgo in and of itself is ruling the military. And so, you know, it's interesting. I always remember Michael Jackson. He used to wear military type costumes. That's an attraction to that uniform, which is very Virgo in nature. He was a Virgo late August birthday. But yeah, and I personally have like military green. I've got a shirt over on the chair there in that military green. I've always loved that. For some reason, that in earth colors are one of my favorite colors for earthy colors. And I'm just trying to think of what I've got around here. I was going to show you some other stuff, but it's okay. No worries. Yeah. Okay, so moving on around the chart, we've got that grand trine. What is a grand trine? A grand trine, like I said, is all these planets talking to each other in Earth. So it is about the planet. It's about what can we do with the planet? What can we do to help the planet? Also, the physicality of transportation somewhat plays into this too, because the Mercury connection to Earth. So it's the cars and, you know, really understanding the mechanics of the physicality of something. So, you know, where Taurus may rule a car and the aesthetics of a car, Virgo rules more of the mechanics of it. Sorry, they're chit-chatting over lunch out there. Okay, we also have a trine going on today between the moon in Virgo and Uranus. So whenever there's a trine to Uranus, again, trines can be some friction energy. It can be like, hey, what's going on? We need to make a change here. We need to improve it somehow. And so we may not have this wonderful cooperative energy initially, but it will end up coming to fruition in a good way. So Earth energy, Uranus in Taurus, I've been talking about that for a while. I mean, I'm sorry, the planets are kind of in those positions where Neptune's in the middle of the sign in Pisces. He's retrograde. He's going to be right around the 17 to 19 degrees during the retrograde. So he's going to be staying pretty solid there. The cluster of planets, the stellium in Capricorn, they're going to be there for another month before Jupiter really joins up with Saturn and we move forward. And then ultimately in December, they go into a new sign. So we've really got let's see, October, half of September, actually, mid-October, mid-November, mid-December, 3 solid months of these planets in Capricorn, really wrapping up that story. So what I wanted to talk today about was the energy, again, of Capricorn, but how it relates to our day-to-day world, how Jupiter relates to our day-to-day lives, and what that means. So Jupiter is a planet that increases our self-interest wherever he is. So of course he's been going through Capricorn. Capricorn's one of those signs, again, earth sign. The earth signs tend to really be good with being of service to other people in different capacities. Capricorn takes ownership of situations and then kind of runs the show and is always the reliable taskmaster of any situation, especially in a tangible bricks and mortar situation or an authority situation. So government, big business, corporations, anything with a larger overriding system or structure, Capricorn does really well. Jupiter, he's the ruler of Sagittarius. He wants to go along the surface and he wants to keep going. He's really good at taking action on behalf of his own interests. And again, all of these planets, there's no judgment. There's no, oh, this is good or bad. It can be difficult, especially if you're more of an earth sign, to deal with Jupiter, which is fire. And again, I've said earth and water are good together and fire and air are good together. But when you mix them is when you get the friction, but also when you get the growth. So Jupiter has a purpose. All the signs, all the planets have their purpose. Jupiter's purpose is to awaken us to the ability to take action, to seek out further information and growth, to educate, to bring out and shine a light on things. He's very optimistic energy, and he wants to create something but not stick around to do the detail work. He's really good with the initiating energy. He's not so good with the follow-up. He's not so good with the detail. That's for Virgo. That's for Capricorn. That's for Taurus. So they're going through cleaning up. But when you put the Jupiter energy in Capricorn, you bring out those issues of self-interest. And that's really difficult for Capricorn. Capricorn in your chart, wherever it is where you want to help people, especially now with Pluto and Capricorn. He wants us to take ownership of the dark side. Jupiter wants to bring out what Pluto has been interacting with in that darker side, and he wants to shine some light and happiness to it, but he also wants to say, hey, what's the big deal? Look at this, just look at it, and now I'm moving on over here. And he's going to leave the mess for Saturn to clean up, quite honestly. And Saturn will say, I've got this, because that's what Saturn does. Okay, so I was talking to my daughter this morning, and I've been thinking about some situations, people that we know in our lives who are struggling right now. And I'm going to bring this up just because I want you to be aware of a little bit of how the planets can influence us, but also how do we practically perceive some of these influences from the planets and in our day-to-day lives and what it means and what we can do about it. And so there's someone in our lives right now who is struggling, extremely sensitive to the point where any normal or any kind of flippant or just thoughtless behavior, like just day to day, hey, we're doing something mundane, we're just being ourselves. He's not taking it well. He's taking it personally, and it's a difficult situation. So I was talking to my daughter about when I was younger, and I mean, we're talking grade school through maybe mid-20s. All my life, I've really put a lot of energy into growth, self-improvement. It's been a passion. It's been kind of pathological. I just do it. And it's really helped me to be a really good listener, a really good therapist to people who come to me for astrology readings. I really enjoy using astrology in a way that helps people get grounded, helps people see how they can become better in their own lives. And back when I was young, I cried a lot. I was super sensitive, and I was told I was sensitive. But, the balance is I was sensitive. Others may have been insensitive, and there was like a huge gap between the two. So I wanted to encourage anyone who knows someone or who is someone who is really sensitive. You may have water signs in your chart that are really lit up. You may have planets that are triggering water planets in the sky. But the thing is, we are sensitive and we need boundaries. What Virgo and Earth energies, Capricorn and Taurus, can do for us is ground us. And as a young, sensitive person, I was very hurt. And I have my moments still, not very often anymore, but I can get hurt, and did a lot as a child from things that were said that were perceived as mean by me. And it really hurt me deeply. I have a ton of water in my chart, and it really cuts to the heart of people who are sensitive. Now, society assigns psychological afflictions to different ways of interpreting energy. And every one of the elements in astrology is an interpretation of energy. Air interprets energy through mental capacity, so they think about things a lot. The earth signs, okay, let's go from the head. Head is air. Heart is water energy, and the blood and the things that make the body go, that can be really integrated in our emotions. And then we've got fire, which is the belly. It just comes up, and it's visceral. It's passion. They react to energy through wanting to do something. I want to throw something across the room. I want to punch a wall. I want to punch certain news people right between the eyes. So that's the fire energy. And then you have the earth, which grounds us. Electrical energy, as you know, needs to be grounded. It needs to go into the earth, because otherwise we'll flake out. And, that air energy just carries us away in our own thoughts. And then the heart energy, we connect. And so the earth energy can help us with boundaries with that. And then the fire energy, fire wants to, like I said, act on things and act out on things, because that's the nature of fire. It just goes, it flames, it rushes, it goes wherever it wants, and it acts on the environment. And earth can tamp it out. You throw sand on a fire to put it out. The earth can smother it. So it isn't that we need to do that, but we can definitely use the earth energy to direct it, and to know where it can build something good, like, lava. And we can create something through the earth energy. So, and they all work with each other. Like I said, fire can lively up the earth. Air and earth, it blows a lot of sandstorms around, which can also create change. It can cause messes from a Virgo, but it can also create change and shift. It moves sand dunes. When I lived in Colorado, they had the Great Sand Dunes National Monument. If you go down towards Pueblo, which is the south side of the state, and then over west, incredible national monument. And they call it a monument, and it is, I suppose, in a physical sense, but it's dunes, and they are blown around, and they are sculptural, and they are beautiful. But the earth moves, and it moves through the use of wind. And it's an amazing integration of elements. So yes, there are things that don't feel comfortable with the elements interacting, but then there are things that can be really positive. So everything is valid in astrology, in energy. And I guess my point is that if you're super sensitive right now, some of the best things you can do is ground, depending on the elements in your chart. Work out if you're fire sign heavy. do more meditation or even integrate Reiki, which is a really great air energy, into your routine. And if you're a water sign, go swimming, be near the ocean, get your feet wet. Anything you can think to integrate, take showers. And then if you're an earth signs need to ground. I think I said air, but yeah, any of that. Just picture the roots coming out of your feet, go hug a tree, do a meditation where you ground in, clear your chakras. All of these things can be helpful right now. There's just so much emotional energy going on. I look at the news here, trying to see what is going on. I did want to say, I'm sorry, it's a little hot here. I wanted to tell you something that I saw looking at the news just before the podcast, and that is that they've discovered something about Venus. The scientists discovered something about Venus. This is from the New York Times. Is there life on Venus? And I find that really interesting because now Venus is in Leo, and she's like, hey, look at me. And they are. So it says here, instead, for decades, scientists have sought signs of life elsewhere, usually peering outward towards Mars, or more recently at Europa, I don't know how to pronounce this, Enceladus, and other icy moons of the giant planets. But the astronomers who reported the finding on Monday in a pair of papers have not collected specimens from Venusian microbes, nor have they snapped any pictures of them. But with powerful telescopes, they have detected a chemical, phosphine, in the thick Venus atmosphere. After much analysis, scientists assert that something now alive is the only explanation for the chemical's source. So here we are, Venus in Leo, being larger than life, being, hey, pay attention, I'm over here, look at me. She's getting some attention. And she is being looked at on her surface, and we're finding something that could be really cool for the future. And anyway, I wanted to share that. So other things that are going on, like I mentioned, are the fires, but they also have Hurricane Sally here in North Florida and Alabama, dumping up to 2 feet of water. I'm looking at a photo of Pensacola, and literally 3 cars parked down off of the steps, looks like of the Capitol. That's not Pensacola. So it is one of the higher up buildings upstairs. And this guy is standing at the stairs looking out on the main street. And the cars have water up to the hubcaps, like are the halfway up the door on the street. So it's like a lake. So we do have this fire energy and this deep water energy currently happening. But the new moon in Earth, it's the Earth focus. We need to focus on what Mother Earth is saying right now. And she can do healing through all the elements. Like I said, the wind can blow the sands around and shift this landscape. Water carves through Grand Canyons and floods out places. I was looking online yesterday, and I didn't know this, but Rachel Ray had her house burned down, well, basically burned down. She said it's getting bulldozed in the video, and that happened in August. It was before all the fires. Apparently one of her, the chimney had a fire that she put in it, and an ember came out of the chimney and landed on the roof and caught the roof on fire, and her house burned down. So it's an energy that's out there right now changing our lives. We have earth shifts, we have air shifts, we have water shifts, and we have fire shifts. And water can flood and wipe out things, tsunamis. Earth can have earthquakes and move about and shift energy. Glaciers, also, I would think glaciers are a combination of water and earth, because when they're frozen, they act like hard soil, hard rock. And when they're liquid, of course, they become the ocean. So it's a combination. This world is made up of these combinations, but currently it's really a very strong time of interesting energy, because one of the things I noticed and I wanted to mention for the podcast was how when the planets are doing what they do, full moons, new moons, shifting signs, there is a pattern. I've got chills with this. There's a pattern that they're showing this year that is different from what I've seen in many other years in astrology. And that is they are going into an energy, like I said earlier, where the new moons happen at the end of a sign and then change signs. The retrograde of Mercury is in the same sign, but then it goes into the one before and then goes back, and they're all in water sign. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't happen every year, because they do tend to have all the Mercury retrogrades in the same element throughout the year. So they hit all the signs of that same element in a year. But it's all at end degrees and end cycles. So we're seeing this tremendous energy of wrapping up and birthing new. So as we study this, as we look at these cycles, they're more pronounced. And of course, the 22 Capricorn degree, which is where we started this year at, with the stellium of Capricorn planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto at 22 degrees, that's the world point. So it is significant for the world. I was thinking about that today as I was out and about with my daughter in the car, how the whole world is influenced by this one event, the pandemic. I mean, we have fires in this place and fires in that place. I mean, Australia had fires earlier in the year. We have them here in America now. It's kind of going around the planet where we have these different significant world events based on the elements. If you assign that energy to it, you can see it through astrology. You can see how the earth, how the air, fire, and water are all significant at any one point when the planets shift over or through a sign or over a point. And I guess as an astrologer, I wanted to point that out. I want you to be aware of how these energies in a larger sense influence our lives. And okay, that's pretty much what I wanted to tell you this week. And let's just look at the rest of the week before we wrap up. Before I go on, though, I do want to mention, if you're interested in getting more personalized subscription type thing, I have a Patreon page. Just look up, I've got to remember what I called it. I believe it's under Angelic Zodiac. So do patreon.com/Angelic Zodiac. You can also get the link at angeliczodiac.com. And there are other like perks. You can get the video early, and you can get newsletters and private readings for the higher subscription prices. But go check it out. And also, I'm wearing a pair of my little earrings here that I made. I don't know if you can see them. I'll take one off and show you a little bit better. I make these, and I've got quite a few up on my website. My personal website is shelleyoverton.com. And I've also got my art that I've been doing a lot recently. And if you go to Instagram, I'm under Artful Shelley there. And then the other one is Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram for my astrology. So yeah, if you're looking for a reading, that's how you get me. On Instagram, on Facebook, same thing, and angeliczodiac.com has it all in one place. So let's look at the rest of the week. And we've got Friday is an inconjunct between Mercury and Neptune, which means Mercury in air is, storms or lightning or tornado kind of energy, tornadic energy, if you're talking weather. And then it's inconjunct to the Neptune energy of water. So I'm thinking probably there's going to be some significant water events in weather come the weekend, but also we've got books and ideas, a feeling of not totally settled with security issues, and then movement and love. It can be too quick with love, so just be cautious. Mercury and Libra, because Mercury's nature is quick thinking and quick understanding. In Libra, which is relationships, you might move too fast. You might think, oh, wow, I've got this. This is good. Do it. So just be cautious about that. And then because Uranus in Taurus is retrograde, you might want to slow down a bit and really embrace and understand and integrate the energy relationships. Also, Saturday, Rosh Hashanah. So I'm just acknowledging my Jewish viewers with Rosh Hashanah. I remember, I want to say, was it Rosh Hashanah? I don't know. My wedding was being planned around this time of year, and we had to put it off because of that. I think it might have been Rosh Hashanah at the time. Anyway, Sun in conjunct Mars and the Moon entering Scorpio, Moon enters Scorpio and the Sun in Virgo in conjunct to Mars and Aries on Saturday. It could be a really emotional time for us, especially with partners, especially with commitments. We've been having a lot of these issues throughout the whole year because this stellium in Capricorn is about structure. And of course, Libra squares the stellium in Capricorn. So there's always that trigger. And then now having Mars in Aries is much more self-interested push with Jupiter direct now adds to that kind of independent mindedness. So just know that, and then of course, Uranus, independence, freedom in Taurus, which is couples. This is a year to really reevaluate if you're getting your needs met, and a lot more independent minded people moving in relationships, they may not be getting what they want. It might not be as much the codependency issues. They might want more freedom, and those codependency issues are coming up as we move towards that understanding of what our personal needs are. So this weekend could be another strong time for that. And then on Sunday, Mercury in Libra squares Pluto in Capricorn. So breakups, clearing house, structure systems. Definitely clean up your energy. I got the card this morning of clutter clearing. So that's a big thing. I agree. It's time to really clear some clutter out. And then Monday, it's the UN International Day of Peace. I belong to a World Peace Organization, SGI USA, that is Buddhist, and it has a seat on the UN. So I'm a big believer in the UN and the need for global cooperation among countries and for world peace. But Monday we have Venus. What is she doing here? Venus in conjunct to Jupiter, which means a move, and it's ego versus freedom. It's us and what we need for attention versus the freedom of the other, or vice versa. Like we need freedom and someone else is not giving us attention, or it's an us versus me, the us as a couple versus the I in the relationship, that kind of dynamic. And then of course, next week, we've got the Sun entering Libra on Tuesday, which I'll mention briefly here, but we'll probably talk more about Libra next week. And so Sun moving from Virgo into Libra, I really see the energies of Virgo and Libra very similar. They're like gradients of the similar energy because Mercury is such a thinking sign, a thinking planet. And then Libra is an air sign. So they really do have kind of that mental connectedness to them. So they are analogous, meaning next to each other. And that means that there can be a cooperation amongst that energy. Sun moving in is ego and sense of self. So we're going from the hermit into needing a partner and cooperation. Another card I keep drawing is collaborate. So we're going into the collaborative end of the year energy. I'm going to leave you with that. I want to thank you for showing up every week. And if you're interested in finding out any more, go to angeliczodiac.com. And with that, I will leave you and have a great week and weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye.
You have been listening to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. If you would like to get a private reading with Shelley, please contact her through angeliczodiac.com or at so@angeliczodiac.com. You can arrange a reading through the Angelic Zodiac page at facebook.com as well. Check out Angelic Zodiac on Instagram for up-to-date information on events, discounts, blogs and planetary transits at Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram. If you would like to see Shelley's art, shelleyoverton.com, or for astrology art, go to astroart.net. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Other music will be credited within the show. Advice given in the program is intended for entertainment purposes only. Join us here next week for more of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play, and where podcasts are accessed.